Okay, thanks. You should be able to see the slides now. Okay, so in this very short presentation, I would like to outline how we managed to create what we call a remote laboratory. We call this project Taliercio 2020 as okay, yes. So the basic idea is that we wanted to actually expand the concept of a computer classroom. I teach at the School of Engineering, Department of Information Engineering, and in particular, I teach programming. So we make large use of a computer classroom for the interactive activities and labs. And I also actually perform several real lectures in the computer classroom. The problem is that since we have a large number of students, we need very large computer classrooms, and actually there is only one in the whole university that can host up to 180 students at a time. So even though this is the only computer classroom that large, we have so many other classrooms that are equally large or even larger, but they are not equipped with computers. So the idea we had was to bring the concept of computer classroom into a normal classroom and transform what is a normal lecturing room into a potentially computer-equipped lecturing room. This way, we can ease the use of dedicated software and dedicated environment, which is very important because nowadays we can assume that the majority of the students have a computer, but the problem is that in many cases, in many courses, we teach complex subjects that need complex softwares to be handled. So the students probably have a computer on their own, but they are not able to install on their laptops dedicated software. This way, our project meant to bring the dedicated software and dedicated environment to the students. Moreover, this very specific equipment, software equipment, in our idea should be available every day of the week and at any time of the day. And the idea behind this Taliercio 2020 project was started something like 3-4 years ago by the School of Engineering, and I recently took the coordination of this project, but the project started long before I took on it. So I just started building on what other people already started and the idea they conceived. Interestingly, the project takes the name from the very large computer classroom that I mentioned before, that is called the Taliercio computer classroom. And this was very advanced when it was set up in the 80s, because it was for the first time a very large lecturing room equipped with a computer for every student was available at that time. So the building blocks of the system that we built, and I use the past because so there was a very long conception and development phase, but now we are on our last stage of experimentation. So the system is already set up. We are kind of fine-tuning it. So the building blocks of the system that is currently available are a virtual environment that is hosted by the central computing services of the university. Then we also we leverage on the terminal used by the student, that may be a laptop or a computer that he or she can use during the lecture, and then a connection to the virtual environment. So the principle is every student has some system like a laptop that can be used as a vehicle for connecting to the remote environment. There are several, so this can appear like a nice, but maybe quite complex system. And so maybe one of the main point in our case is to explain why we should have these three actors. So the connection and the remote environment that cannot be installed or is not ideally installed in the student's computer. The main benefits for the students of relying on such architecture is that, first of all, the student can find the same environment that is used during the classes, because the environment is shared to all the students, but also to the lecturer and to the instructors. So the instructor shows how to use the software to the students in class using the environment that then the students also have and can use at home while they're doing their homeworks. The second great advantage is that the students find the environment already set up. So they don't need time to install. Usually complex software have very complicated licensing systems that should rely on licensing servers, or in some other cases there are some softwares that are quite tricky to install, and I personally witnessed these difficulties, because when I lecture even at the master level, I see that students sometimes struggle setting up complex softwares, even though they are students of computer engineering. In some cases, also due to licensing, it is even impossible for the students to install on their private PCs. So this way they have the software, whereas if we don't use this remote environment, they couldn't access the software. And this way we are kind of removing all the unnecessary complexity and the complexities that don't lead to learning. So they find that the environment already set up, and they just can concentrate on learning and on doing their homeworks, working with the software, and following the instructions given during the lectures. A further advantage is that a very powerful hardware is available to the students. Some of the softwares that we use need very powerful computers, and that's exactly what they get in the remote environment, and they can achieve very high computational power, even though their laptop is quite a cheap one, an inexpensive one, and wouldn't be able to do the same computations. We also see some benefits to the instructors, because first of all, thanks to this remote environment, if students bring their laptop to the lecturing room, every lecturing room can be turned into a computer classroom. So this way, you don't have like the one slot per week where you can go to the computer lab and all the other slots are forced to be without the computer. And this leads to enhanced flexibility in planning, while planning your course. Then it is also possible to have a part on the, so it is possible to take maybe the 2 hours per week that we want to use the computer classroom, and spread them across all the lectures in our week. So it is easier to mix together the lecturing and the interactive activities based on the software that we offer in our remote environment. And then there is also more control over the environment used by the students. A problem that I experienced so many times is that every student chooses his own or her own integrated development environment or compiler or whatever. So there are some choices that can be made, and usually students tend to explore all the possible ways. Instead, in this case, where the instructor has a great level of control over what the students use. Some highlights about our project. So, so far we were able to achieve a power of up to 500 sessions that can be run at the same time. So up to 500, 550 students can be running at the same time. And of course, the number of total number of students that can have access to this is way higher. And we are currently upgrading the system to be able to manage up to 2,000 students at the same time. And this is also another important element is that we also thought of about the students who maybe can't afford to buy a laptop, and we, as a part of the project, we offered we lent laptops to the students who were not able to get one. We also, even though in principle every lecture room is already ready to host this method, we also updated some lecture rooms, like empowering the Wi-Fi infrastructure, and in some cases we also brought the power to the desks. This is not, I mean, students can also rely on their batteries, but this can indeed ease the use of the software. So there are kind of rooms, lecture room, that are dedicated to this. And importantly, we are now in the process of extending this project to other schools of the University of Padova, and this is the reason for we are enhancing the number of connections that can be run at the same time. So now I would like to show you a very short virtual lab tour. We also call this remote system the virtual lab, because it is a kind of a virtual lab that you can connect at any time. So you access this environment using the centralized access, the single sign-on that every student already has. And you see here that there are multiple environments. They are called virtual machines, but apart from the technical name, they are different environments, and every department or even every course can define its own virtual environment. Then you select one, and you are prompted for the agreement of the software usage at the first connection, and this is very useful because this way we can ensure that students accept the licensing agreements, and then you can see the startup and the virtual machine that is ready. Probably you don't see much difference from this and the normal environment that you find when you switch on your computer, and that's exactly what we wanted. So it should be exactly the same, apart from the computational power and the software installation that are already set up. And you can see some examples here of what is running, and that works exactly as it would be in your computer, but using taking the advantages that I outlined before. Okay, thanks for your attention.